button. All righty, there we go.
Good morning, everybody. Shakira, are you ready to get us started?
Yes, thank you everyone for your patience and welcome to our meeting for today. Today's meeting is going to be really short. We're just meeting for 1 hour. And so after I get the welcome, Tasha will go ahead and do the roll call, and Joe will give some instructions as for our working groups and kind of continuing what we started a couple of weeks ago. I just ask, to keep in mind when you're working that we are focusing on short-term goals that we would like to accomplish between now and the end of this year. And I'm sure that we have all seen the spike as well in gun violence in our city and surrounding counties. And so that just really reinforces what we're doing here and our need to continue meeting every 2 weeks. Because of the spike in violence, I do think it's important that we meet more often so that we can make a little bit more headway with some of our plans. So I will pass this off to Tasha.
Hi, good morning, everyone. All right, I will start with the roll call. Shakira Williams.
Here.
Courtney Penn.
Present.
Nicole Ross.
Here.
Antoine Callaway.
I believe he'll be joining us late.
Okay, Ryan Bell. Rabbi Kathy Cohen. Natasha Saunders. Jordan Bell. Reverend David Jones.
Here.
Joshua Johnson.
Standing in for Josh Johnson, Lieutenant Holt, Sergeant Price.
Thank you. Bishop J.L. Jackson.
Here.
Stacy Shepard.
Here.
Troy Gussler. David Thomas. Yvonne Thomas.
Here.
Dr. Mark Hamill. Reverend Tim Harvey.
Here.
Anthony West. And no, Mayor Sherman Lee could not be in attendance today. Vice Mayor Joe Cobb. Thank you.
This is N.L. Bishop. I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Enel. We're just roll calling the study committee members.
Oh, gotcha.
We've got a record of you being here, so thank
Gotcha.
you. And all the other working group participants, we've got a record of you too, so thank you. Hey, Shakira.
All right. So I'm not sure if everyone has checked their email yet. I'm assuming you have since you're here. There was an Excel spreadsheet attached to the email. It just had an overview of some of the goals that each group came up with last time. And so for those of you who may not have come up with all of your goals, I would challenge you to keep in mind the SMART goal template, which is specific, measured, attainable, relevant, and time-bound goals. And so your group is free to continue working on those goals. If you already have goals that you would like to just focus in on those, please feel free to focus in on that. Please make sure that each working group has a recorder, because we do collect the minutes after the group. Feel free to email with your group in the meantime between the 2 weeks as well, because I know that this is a short meeting that we're having, and so you may not be able to get as much work done. And I think that is it for me. I'll pass it off to Joe. We'll come back maybe when there's about 10 minutes left, and that's just to talk about our next steps, remind you of our next meeting dates, and answer any questions that you all have.
Thank you, Shahira. Just a couple of logistical notes. We're going to take just a moment to switch who's in the main room, because of a couple of our facilitators for one of the groups are not here. So I'm going to facilitate that group, and we'll need to bring it into the main room. So bear with us as we do that switch. The other thing is I wanted to share with you some updated data. In conversation with Chief Roman, we're going to make a point of having a data update at every meeting. And so as you are in your working groups, if there are particular questions that you have regarding data for incidents of gun violence in the community, please send me those questions so that I can communicate those with Chief Roman, and we can get data reports as we're able to. This is just a comparison, as you can see, between 2019 and 2020, kind of a follow-up to to the report that was given 2 weeks ago. Homicides are actually down from a year ago, but aggravated assaults are up almost double. And we've seen evidence of that over the last couple of weeks with the incidents locally. Domestic aggravated assaults are at 0 at this point. Comparatively, from January 1 to July 28th, 2019, 2020, you can see we're about the same in terms of homicide incidents. So we'll continue to monitor that very closely. Again, in your working groups, if you have requests for data that you would find helpful in terms of adding evidence, data evidence to your goals, which I think helps make them more measurable in the long term, please make note of that and send those requests to me so that I can communicate those to the chief. Okay, bear with us. I don't think, trying to see if Antoine or Rabbi Cohen are on yet. Okay, what we're going to do is bring the gang activity and incarceration recidivism group into the main room. And so just bear with us for a moment.
Where do you want to put Ryan?
Ryan is in education.
Joe, I just wanted to update everyone on the minutes. When you look at the marketing and communications group, there's 2 dates that are in those minutes that we've identified for potential brainstorming sessions to kind of flesh out some of our marketing and communications ideas and planning. It says August. Should be September. That is my typo. I passed that along incorrectly to Joe. but that both of those dates should be August. The actual dates and times are correct. It's just that I transpose 8 and 9 in date numbers every year somehow. So that was my mistake. I appreciate your attention to that.
All right, what I'm going to do is bring, got smaller numbers in 2 of our working groups. I'm going to bring reducing gang activity, violence and recidivism, and our engagement and media partnerships into our main room so that we can discuss those together. And then the others should go out into other rooms.
Ready?
Everybody ready?
Everybody ready?
We'll come back at 10:40.
All right, here we go.
Wow. So our group looks like it doubled in size.
We're going to move city services to a separate room. Just
Okay, I was confused. Thank you.
sorry about that. All right, it's
Who do we want to send?
so Arwen, are you in city services?
Yes.
Arwen?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
This one?
that one.
There she goes.
Bishop Jackson. Fourth one down.
Oh,
No,
did I
no,
send it to the
no.
wrong one? Oh, I sent it to the wrong place. Oh,
Hold on.
okay. I'll see if I can get it back. Okay, who else do we have?
Shakira, NL Shakira.
This one.
There, yeah. Shakira.
Stacy's in my group.
Yvonne is in Safer Neighborhoods.
Okay.
Nicole, Safer Neighborhoods. David, yeah, stays here. And Anne Marie, were you doing city services? Yes, okay.
There we go. Yes.
Jamal is in city services. He's right there.
There.
I can see
I
Jamal.
can see him.
Trying to
You
get
put me in education before. I could leave out of there.
all right, we'll get you there.
Thank you.
That, let me come back. See your face, Jamal. Like I can't find you on my list.
Oh,
I am sending you now to city service. There you go, Jamal.
thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. And let's send Officer Holt and guys, did you hear from Josh which group you were intended to be in today, or does it matter to you?
No, sir, we did not. We're trying to get a hold of him, but we have not heard back yet. So we'll be glad to join any group you'd like.
Send you to Safer Neighborhoods because that's the group we're working with. Okay. All right, I think we're good.
Oh, here's Rabbi Cohen.
Okay. then let's.
It's reduce gang activity and recidivism.
Yeah, but they're in the main room here. Hold tight, I'm pulling up my
And Lindsay, Jean, and Ashley, like if there's a specific room you want to go into, you can, or you can just stay here in the main room.
okay, here we go. All right, hello everybody. We've got two groups here because we're a little smaller in size. The reducing gang activity and violence and reducing recidivism, and also our marketing and media partnerships and communication. Chief Hoback, do you have a preference? I think last time we had you in safer neighborhoods. Would you prefer to go there or to the city services?
It's up to you. I'll do whatever. The safer neighborhood is where I was before, so
Okay.
doesn't matter.
Why don't we send Chief Hoback to safer neighborhoods? See, it's part of that conversation.
All right, Chief Hoback, here you go. Ah.
Okay. All right, thank you all for your patience.
Back out. There we go. Okay.
All right. Well, maybe what we should do just briefly, since a couple of you are new to the information that we went over last time, is just to do a quick review of where these groups are in terms of recommendations and SMART goals. Courtney, would you like to just give us a recap of what you all covered last time and what you're continuing to work on, particularly with the upcoming stakeholders meetings that you're planning to work on?
That's real quick. You know, we initially going into this plan, we believe that marketing and communication is to kind of support, you know, what's happening with the other working groups, but also to set an agenda and to be very upfront and active on what we as a committee and as a community feel about gun violence and to promote you know, its reduction. So one of the things that the initial recommendations held was that we would get professional assistance, and you know, even if we had to pay for some of that professional assistance to help market that message. So what we'll be doing, you know, in the near term is putting together a brainstorming session where we will have professionals in the field, but also individuals who have a level of understanding about what's happening, you know, in a community, from a law enforcement perspective, from a community perspective, you know, a victim perspective, you know, and an aggressive perspective, and come out of that with some real tangible ideas for moving forward. So we've identified 2 dates in September, in mid-September. The 18th is one date, and I believe it's the 9th is the other date. And Chris Turnbull has agreed with Carillion to facilitate that group. And right now, what we're trying to do is to determine what's the right group to be invited to participate in that session. And I'll be reaching out to, several folks to get their advice on, who would be, great participants to have in that session. And we hope to come out of that with an actionable plan in moving forward. So that's kind of where we are. But, we'll be, under, at the same time, we'll be supporting, any plans that the other working groups will be working on.
Thank you, Courtney. And I think, Amanda, you were part of that conversation as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was.
Tracy, welcome. Glad you're here.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Can you just briefly introduce yourself and tell us the work that you do and how it intersects with this working group on reducing gang violence and recidivism?
I am the director of the court service unit in Roanoke City. So I am dealing with all the juvenile offenders that is somewhat involved or affiliated with gangs and those who have participated in some of the gun violence. So we manage supervision of probation and parole for these particular juvenile offenders, as well as attend court. We also do recommendations to the court, and we are ourselves with Martinsville Court Service Unit and Danville Court Service Unit. We're putting together a gang reduction collaboration. So all of this kind of ties with what the court service unit is doing right now.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you. Antoine and Kathy, if you all could just briefly reintroduce yourselves as the co-facilitators of the Reducing Gang Violence Working Group, just so that everybody else knows who you are.
Hi, I'm Kathy Cohen. I'm the rabbi at Temple Emmanuel. And Antoine and I have been working together, I guess, well, probably close to a year now, or 6 months or so, on putting this committee together. And so happy to have some more people with some more expertise involved with us. So thank you. Thank you, Tracy, for being a part of this.
Thank you for reaching out. I've been kind of in limbo and what to do and who to contact. So I'm very, very appreciative that I was added to the call and most definitely want to be a part of the group.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And can you all hear me fine? This is Antoine.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, thank you, Rabbi. This is Antoine Callaway with United Way of Roanoke Valley during the daytime, but also sit on a host of other committees and do some other things in the community. I also wanted to, Vice Mayor, can I have the opportunity to introduce the gentleman with me as well?
Please.
Okay, yeah. I have with me today Mr. John English. He's with me today. His background, and some of you all may have in the past heard me speak about a gentleman that I've kind of worked with in the community that deals with actual gang violence and actually working with individuals that have been a part of the gang. So if you've heard me make reference of a gentleman that I've kind of have spoken to in the past about making changes in the community, because he at one time was heavily involved with various gang activity throughout his life and known individuals that have been. This is the gentleman that I've named and have spoken of before, and because of some circumstances and things that that his son is enduring at this present point in time that deals with gang violence, he sees fit to kind of step to the forefront and not continue to do the work that he's been doing behind the scenes, but to start to really bring some light to what the gang situation is like here in Roanoke Valley, what's going on, and not necessarily from the law enforcement perspective, but from the perspective of someone that's actually that has ties and has relationships with individuals that have been in the gang or currently active in the gang.
Welcome, Mr. English.
Thank you. How you doing today? Thank you.
Good. We'll come back to you in just a minute, okay?
Okay, sir.
David Thomas. David, can you hear me? Can you introduce yourself real quickly? It looks like you may be at school. You'll have to unmute, David. There you go.
Can you hear me now? All right. Yeah, I'm David Thomas, part of the committee, entrepreneur, formerly incarcerated, 18 years. Right now, just trying to employ some guys, men and women, to, into working. Because I'm a firm believer that, jobs change lives. So that's one thing that I'm really focused on, is getting people employed and finding their skill, or at least having some finances, because that's the main reason why most people are out there anyway, money. My whole focus is to build a brand, build a company, and get people employed, get people working, deal with the youth, and hopefully we can come up with a situation where if we got some youth out there that their crime is not too bad, that they can work with us and start picking up a skill, trade, and understanding that work is the key, along with education.
Great. Thanks for all you're doing, David.
Appreciate it.
We also have with us today Jim O'Hare, who was with us last time. Can you wave, Jim?
Jim O'Hare, Youth Care Administrator for the City of Roanoke.
Thank you, Jim. And Elliot Major with Dorcas House. Good to have you here. Okay. All right, so for those who weren't able to be with us last time, I just wanted to do a quick recap of some of the goals we came up with in reducing gang violence and recidivism. Under the first recommendation, which was greater collaboration, we wanted to invite a representative of the Roanoke City Police with expertise in gang activity to join the working group. What I'm going to recommend is I'd like to set up a meeting. The way our study committee works is that we can have two people from the committee be a part of a conversation, but no more than two. It's the same way that city council works. So Antoine and Rabbi, what I'd like to do is connect you all with Chief Roman so that you all, as the facilitators of this working group, can have a conversation with him about that partnership with the police department. Does that sound good? Okay. And then the second part of that was taking a look at violence prevention models already successful in other places. And in the minutes, I included links to 3 of those models that Antoine forwarded to me. One is the Cure Violence model, one is a Youth Violence Prevention model, and one was the Oakland Ceasefire model. So there's kind of an overlay with prevention models, but those are in your minutes. Under the CARE initiative, next we asked to determine the current status of the CARE initiative. I'm going to have a conversation next week with Daniel Bubar, who is with the district attorney's office, to get an update on the status of that. So I'll be able to report back via email and at our next meeting regarding that. And I think we identified 2 members last time to be a part of that initiative, and I'm trying to remember now who they were because I don't have my notes in front of me. I think Elliot was one of them. Is that correct, Elliot?
That would be correct.
Okay. And I have the other one somewhere in my notes, so we'll follow up on that. The transformative models. This is also where I think those violence prevention models came through from Antoine. So when you look at your minutes, take a note of those as well. We want to determine best practices and how we can create a unique model that really serves the Roanoke area well. Reducing recidivism in partnership with Roanoke City Jail. We wanted to determine if there is a coordinated comprehensive plan for offender reentry. And by that we meant all of the programs in the Roanoke Valley that are currently doing this work. We wanted to bring those stakeholders together to see if there is a comprehensive plan on reducing recidivism, and if there is not, to bring it through that collaborative effort to create one, so that we're not always reinventing the wheel. And then review programs within the jail and look for collaborative opportunities with community-based programming already in place. So that's a part of it. And then I've sent Antoine and Kathy a summary of case law regarding child support and incarceration. We'll make sure that that gets out to the whole committee, the working group. Alice Burlinson has helped us with that. And then the last part is creating an education program for employers in the city of Roanoke regarding the benefits of offering a second chance to offenders re-entering the workforce and the resources that are available for that to happen, which ties in with what David was talking about earlier with connecting people with the jobs they need to be able to move forward. That's just a recap. With Mr. English visiting with us today and some kind of, I wanted to give him the ability to share a little bit, Antoine, if that would be okay. Before we have about four to 5 minutes left, and I wanted to give you, Mr. English, just a little opportunity to kind of share with us. Apologies for the shorter meeting today, but this is a conversation that we can continue during our next meeting as well. Okay? Antoine, if you want to unmute.
Yeah, technical difficulties, sorry.
Hey, how y'all guys doing today? Thanks for letting me sit in. My name's John English. I'm with the Revelation Power Group, and basically I kind of do what David does. I try to, provide jobs for felons, provide jobs for gang members. I try to mostly stop the violence and, just try to create a structure for people that feel like they don't have a way out or they don't have a way to get to life the way other people get to life, because it's a different world, in the Northwest areas, in the Southeast areas. It's a different world in these urban communities than what people live in. So, you got to have somewhat of sympathy, but still be stern with some of these gang members or some of these people that's coming up in these environments. So I just try to give them a more or less like a shoulder to cry on, because even the most gangsters or even the most hardest killers, they cry at nighttime. So, and if I feel like if you can open your heart up and sometime and kind of look at some of these people and say, hey, let's look at your life and see what's really into your life. That's really kind of getting to them more versus some of the programs that's being put into play in the Valley. They're not working, and it's more gangs members. Like the gangs is coming in at 13 now, 12, 13. So you go to all the schools, Williamsburg, it don't even matter. North Side, it don't matter. They picking up gang members. Jersey people coming out, they picking up gang members. So we coming with more gang members and less people that's love, less people, less police help, less protection from the police. So we got to try to get, to a point where, we can have some type of structure with these people and some type of, we have to have some type of where they can believe in us, because if they don't have nothing to believe in right now, and that's where a lot of the violence is coming from. They don't have a father in the home. They don't have a decent mother in the home, and some of them even have that, but they still just like to, the values of what the street have to give. So we just have to paint a different picture, and that's really what I'm trying to do. My son right now has been a victim of gang violence, and I was just now a victim of gang violence, and just now was also mobbed by a gang and was involved in the shooting at 7-Eleven just this weekend, you know, by gang activity and gang violence, you know. So it's getting bad, and it's, like I said, the kids are getting younger and younger, and that's becoming a problem because these kids are getting calls from New Jersey saying, hey, shoot this person, and the guy's never been to Roanoke in their life, and it happens. So that's basically what I'm trying to do, and I'm kind of on the same path with David, man. Like, you know, I want to provide a different opportunity and a different outlook for these kids and the adults.
And I'd like to take 1 second and not to continue too far. For Mr. English to be here today is it took some telephone calls, it took some conversations, it took some other things on other levels that some of us may understand or we may not understand. What he's looking to do is to help truly bridge the gap that we may have a hard time bridging. Is how do we reach individuals? How do you reach somebody if they're not at your table? Well, what you end up doing is you begin to be a group of individuals trying to make decisions and choices for people that you don't even invite to have at the table. With Mr. English being able to pick up the telephone and make some of the calls that he made over the last couple of days, just for him to be able to sit down, to really be able to have his presence sit at the table, so that way he can take some of, you know, anything that he can help and assist with and take it back to the actual individuals that we're trying to stop the violence, the individuals we're trying to work with to lessen violence or find a way to get them on a better path. That, I think, is what Mr. English can kind of bring to the work that we're doing. And that's because he has the ability, and he still has the relationships that are needed in order. So we all know that you have to have some credibility with your job, and that kind of helps to go and do certain things throughout your career. And it's the same thing when you're involved with individuals that may still be connected in the street or individuals that may still be engaging in that lifestyle. You have to bring individuals that have that credibility that can go back to them and tell them, look, this is how you get the jobs. Like what Mr. David Thompson and Mr. English was talking about. This is what you need to do in order to go on a better path. And I'm thankful that Mr. English was willing to. And I've been discussing his son's situation with bullying, with gang bullying, and we'd like to discuss that further. So thank you, Vice Mayor, for allowing us to have Mr. English here, and we'll further this discussion a little bit more deeper as we have the time to do so.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you. It's an honor to have you here today, sir. Thank you for being with us. All right, I think we're about ready to go back out. Thank you all.
You got about a minute. Everybody will be coming in.
Any last thoughts before we go back into the big room? We look forward to continuing this conversation.
If any of those models that you're reviewing have communication sections and such, I would love to be directed to those.
Courtney, if you go into the minutes that I sent out under the section on reducing gang violence, those models, I've just done like one sheets of each of those models, and I believe there are links in the models that you can go to get more information.
Okay.
That's in the longer set of minutes that I sent out.
Okay, gotcha.
All right. Let's see, we have here a few more coming in. Stacy Shepard, did you paint that panorama behind you?
Isn't it beautiful? I did not paint it, but I do love it.
And Shakira is on the beach somewhere. That's nice. And Bishop,
I am eating breakfast in Mississippi.
All right. Well, Shakira, I think we're all back. If you want to tell us about next steps and our next meeting. Shakira, yes, we will make sure that there is someone from PD in your group the next time.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions or concerns that you want to use this time to ask or air?
I'd like to raise just one minor point. Is it Courtney, or yours is the marketing group? Is that correct? I suppose what I'm going to say would apply to all of our groups, but I know some of what we're talking about in the neighborhood, Safer Neighborhoods group is if you all would just pay attention to it from the marketing point, if there are potential areas of overlap, we're trying to do some community art projects that it might be good. So if you just want to check the minutes, you know, and if there's potential for overlap or partnership there, just to be aware of that.
That's a good point, Tim. I think we want to, where there are intersections in our work, we don't need to duplicate, but if we can send some of that to other working groups, that's going to be really critical, particularly around how we communicate out the work we're doing.
And I would just like to second that as well. I definitely think we've got some intersections going on with recidivism and gang violence and the criminal justice system. And so we would love to be able to coordinate or even email. And so definitely pay attention to the minutes and the group leaders. If you are aware that there is some intersectionality, please reach out to the other group leaders so that way we can coordinate, or maybe we want to combine groups the next time or something of that nature. So for our next meeting, we will be meeting 2 weeks from now. So that would be August the 14th at 10 o'clock. I believe that it's going to be the same time. Is it until 11, Joe, or we have to go according to their schedule for the room?
We'll give you an update on that.
Yeah.
I need to talk about the scheduling for the city. So we'll know definitely what the length of time is when we send out the meeting notice.
Okay, great. So it'll be either an hour or an hour and a half. So we'll know closer to that time how long we're going to be meeting for. Some things to focus on. Joe brought up data earlier. So keep that in mind. Hopefully we have some new updates as well from the police department. Hopefully no new incidents of violence that occur, but continue with your planning. And if there's any budget items, please make sure that you note that in your minutes, because as you are planning and when you start implementing, you know, we need to know that. I know that we have a few items where we may have to dip into the budget for covering fees for nonprofit applications and things of that nature. And so that's something that we will be making a note of. And Joe is actually going to have to talk to us a little bit more, and maybe he can do that in 2 weeks, about how we can get our budgets approved for our groups, who will be doing what in terms of that. Hopefully we can have a better picture about how that looks 2 weeks from now.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're not going to report out today. I just ask that those of you who recorded in your minutes, please make sure that you get that information to Joe and I. And Joe, there's another comment in the box from Stacy representing our group, that it's vital that we have law enforcement participation starting in the next 2 weeks, because it's really difficult for us to plan anything without law enforcement there to answer questions and help guide.
Got that, and I'll follow up with you and Stacy after the meeting regarding that.
Okay, great. So if there's nothing else, and
a quick question, Shakira.
Oh yes.
We changed our name from task force. So what do we say when we're introducing or when we're speaking on behalf of? What are we calling ourselves officially? What official title do we need to use?
So I still say task force. I mean, to be technical, it's an ad hoc committee. I don't see anything wrong with using the word task force. But Joe, does it matter?
Well, our official name is the Ad Hoc Study Committee to Reduce Gun Violence. It's a very long name. I usually just say the Study Committee to Reduce Gun Violence.
There you go. All right, very good. That's what I needed to know. Thank you.
All right. Any other last questions or concerns? If you know people, our meetings are open. So if you think that someone is good to bring on board for one of your groups, please feel free to invite them to our next meeting. These are open invitation meetings. They are published, but they're on the city website, and so some people may not be aware. So invite people and that's it. So I hope that everybody has a great weekend, a safe, dry, and hydrated weekend. And I will see you all in 2 weeks.
Thanks, everybody.
The meeting is adjourned.
Great weekend.